Welcome to this session on writing a C program to find the biggest and smallest of three numbers. In this presentation, we will walk through the entire process of writing, understanding, and executing a program that compares three user integers. We will discuss the role of conditional statements in this process and see how this can be applied effectively in C programming to solve a practical problem. Before we dive into the actual code, let's first understand the problem we are trying to solve. We are tasked with finding the largest and smallest values from three given integers. This might seem like a simple task, but it offers a great opportunity to practice using conditional statements like if-else, which form the backbone of decision making in C. By the end of this session, you will be able to modify and expand this problem to handle more complex scenarios. The problem we are tackling is straightforward. Given three integers, we need to determine which one is the largest and which one is the smallest. For instance, if we input the numbers 5, 8, and 3, the program should tell us that the largest number is 8 and the smallest number is 3. This simple task lays the foundation for more complex problems that can be tackled using the same principles of comparison and conditional statements. Now let's take a look at the algorithm we will be following. First, the program will prompt the user to input three integers. Then we will compare these integers against each other to determine which is the largest and which is the smallest. We will make use of if-else statements to perform these comparisons. Finally, the program will output the largest and smallest numbers to the user. This simple algorithm not only helps in solving this problem, but also illustrates the importance of control flow in programming. Let's now look at the code implementation. First, we include the standard input-output header file using #include stdio.h. This allows us to use functions like printf and scanf. In the main function, we declare three integer variables num1, num2, and num3, which will hold the values input by the user. We then prompt the user to enter these values using the scanf function. At this point, the user will input the three numbers that the program will work with. Next, we focus on finding the largest number. We initialize a variable biggest and assume num1 to be the largest number. However, we then compare num1 with num2 and num3 using conditional statements. If num2 is greater than biggest, we update biggest to num2. Similarly, if num3 is greater than the current biggest, we update it again. This way, we ensure that biggest will always contain the largest of the three numbers at the end of the comparison. Now let's look at how we find the smallest number. Similar to finding the largest, we initialize a variable called smallest and assume num1 is the smallest. Then we perform comparisons to check if num2 or num3 is smaller than the current smallest. If either number is smaller, we update the smallest variable accordingly. Once the comparisons are done, we print the values of biggest and smallest, giving the user the output of the program. Let's break down the code in detail. In this section, we take input for three integers using the scanf function. When the program asks the user to input three numbers, the user enters them, for example, as 5, 8, and 3. These numbers are then stored in variables num1, num2, and num3. The program now has the data it needs to begin the comparisons and determine which number is the largest and smallest. Now let's focus on finding the largest number. Initially, we assume num1 to be the largest. We then compare it with num2 and num3. If num2 happens to be greater than num1, we update biggest to num2. Similarly, if num3 is greater than biggest, we update the value of biggest to num3. By doing this, we ensure that biggest will hold the largest value of the three numbers by the time the comparisons are finished. Similarly, we now look for the smallest number. Just like with the largest number, we start by assuming that num1 is the smallest. We then compare num2 and num3 with num1. If either num2 or num3 is smaller than num1, we update the smallest variable accordingly. After all comparisons, we print both the largest and smallest numbers. This simple flow ensures that we have correctly identified the largest and smallest numbers. Let's run the program with an example. If the user enters the values 5, 8, and 3, the program will first compare them. It will identify 8 as the largest and 3 as the smallest. The output of the program will be as follows. The biggest number is 8 and the smallest number is 3. This example demonstrates how the program works with real input and provides the user with direct results. To conclude, this simple program shows how to use conditional statements in C programming to solve a practical problem. By comparing three integers, we learned how to identify the largest and smallest numbers. This exercise highlights the importance of control flow in programming. We can easily extend this problem to handle more numbers or even add more complex logic. Keep experimenting with different input values and explore how to modify this program for larger inputs. That wraps up the presentation on finding the biggest and smallest of three numbers in C. Now I would like to open the floor for any questions. Feel free to ask if you need clarification on any part of the program, or if you would like suggestions on how to extend this program further. I am here to help.